Hey, I'm Melissa Paris, and I race AMA Pro Racing in the Daytona Sportbike class.
Cycle Sports TV had the privilege to spend some time with AMA Pro Daytona Sportbike racer Melissa Paris. In this multi-part interview, we talk about how Melissa got the riding bug, her struggles as a racer, and her relationship with her husband, AMA Superbike champ Josh Hayes.
Currently, I'm kind of doing a privateer effort, so basically like my own team, and that means I get to do everything from trying to find sponsors to making sure stuff gets built. Luckily, I have a lot of good friends around me that make it happen. Otherwise, there's no way I'd get to be racing. Racing is pretty much the only thing I can fathom putting this much work into.
Most racers that compete at Melissa's level begin their riding careers as children. For Melissa, this was not the case.
So when I was growing up, no one in my family was into motorsports. We had 5 kids, so it wasn't anything that we could have afforded. So played a lot of the normal sports, but I think having 4 brothers, I kind of never put a distinction between what the girls should do, what the boys should do. Like, I just wanted to have fun. So naturally, when I went away to college and my boyfriend had a sport bike, it never occurred to me not to want to. So yeah, I was 20 years old before I ever learned how to ride a motorcycle. He taught me how to ride, and I was riding in the canyons a lot. So I was 20 years old, ditching school, ditching work, go take my bike up to Palomar and basically do laps up and down a public road. And I'm super lucky that a great group of friends found me and took me to the racetrack before I had a chance to really hurt myself riding on the street. When people ask me, I usually tell them that my first bike was an FZR 600 because that was the first bike that I really got to ride. But the truth of the matter is that before that, I bought off a coworker for $1,000 a 1986 Yamaha FZ 600 before the FZR. It was like so messed up. Like to go straight, you had to like hold the handlebars like sideways because it was so twisted and bent up. And so my friends took me out to a parking lot, and I'm on the thing, I can barely reach the ground, and they're trying to teach me how to work the clutch because I didn't even know how to drive a stick shift car. So I'm trying to figure it out, and I kept toppling over. Like I just kept falling down. And it was awful. Like, I mean, tears like you can't believe. Like, I knew I wanted to ride. I'd ridden on the back enough to know it was something I wanted to do, but like I literally couldn't make it from one side of the parking lot to the other without just tipping over. It was pathetic. So my boyfriend like literally like packed the thing up, put it in the garage, and was like, obviously this isn't for you, so let's do something else.
If you've ever seen Melissa on the track, you would assume that racing came naturally to her. That couldn't be further from the truth.
I'm not sure that there's anybody in the world that could be less of a natural at this than I am. And I try to tell that to people that I meet all the time when they're like, man, I'm so frustrated. And I was like, thank God there's no video of me the first day, because it was so bad. Like, it was awful. And if it wasn't for the fact that another friend of mine was like, hey, let's try it again. And we got a Ninja 250 so I could reach the ground. And like literally, even then I was so scared. Like, and I was afraid of my own shadow at that time in my life. So I was afraid to like ride around on the streets, and I'll never forget my buddy Arash is literally on the passenger seat riding with me. So like at stoplights, like he's putting his feet down with me, like, because I was just like, what if I stall it? What if I do this? What if I drop it and I can't pick it up? Like, I was terrified. But then, you know, within a day or two of riding like that, I'm like, all right, this is fun. And then a month later, I wanted a 600, and that's how I ended up with that FZR that I always tell people was my first bike. And it was no gem either. That poor thing was in sad shape. Salvage title, naturally, as a college student. Half the bodywork was missing. What was left was cracked and held together with a handful of MSF safety course stickers. I mean, it's pretty sad.
At this point, you would think that with a beat-up secondhand 600 and a lack of confidence in her riding, that the racetrack would be the last place that Melissa would wind up. Surprisingly, it would not be long before this starving college student answered the call to the track.
Less than a year, really, I'm pretty sure. It must have been less than a year of riding before I actually did a track day. I had that FZR for probably 6 months or so, and then I realized I could get financed on a new motorcycle. And I went and got a CBR 600 in '03 when they first came out with the new one with the cool undertail exhaust and all the other cool stuff. And like I said, some friends dragged me out to the racetrack, and then I got broke. Then I ran out of money pretty quickly.
So this broke newbie rider with a new bike and a new passion for the track had to find a way to pay for this expensive addiction.
I got that new 600 in 2003, and I did a bunch of track days. Like I think I started doing them like, later towards the end of summer and whatnot. And I got on quickly. I quickly figured out that I wasn't going to be able to pay to do track days because I was a broke college student. So I was wheeling and dealing everything I could. And when I look back, like I rode so much back then because I was like, hey, I'll do registration if you let me ride for free. Or even at the Keith Coates School, he'd let me, be a turn worker for half the day and then ride the other half, or help the mechanic fix crash bikes and ride. And it was really when I started helping out at that school and some of the other people that I was riding with, and I was as fast as them, and they were all club racing. That was when I was like, all right, let's do this. So I think it was like midway through the season in 04 where I was like, all right, let's go racing. My actual first race was pretty nerve-wracking. You had to do a race school to get a race license, which again, I didn't have the money for, but luckily for me, I'd been helping out at Keith's school, so he was nice enough to give me a certificate saying that I'd taken his race class. So I remember showing up and I was so nervous. I mean, if you could have seen me, I'm on this beat up old bike. Like, it's not like how it is now where you see novices with suspension and exhaust and nice fancy stuff. Like I literally had a street bike with primer gray race plastics on it and a duct tape number plate. Like I just wanted to do it. And I was really, really nervous, like all through practice, like having a hard time. But as I was rolling out onto the racetrack for that first race, like on the warm-up lap, I remember suddenly being like, these are all the same people I ride track days with. This is no different, except now no one's gonna yell at me for like passing too close. And I don't think I've ever been so nervous as I was on that grid, but like the instant that the green flag went, it was like literally like I'd been set free. So it was like, hooked instantly. I knew in my heart it was that I wanted to take racing as far as I could. I don't think I was ready to verbalize it because I was a mid-pack novice rider. So it's like, what are you gonna do? Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go race AMA Pro. But I knew like in my heart that I wanted to figure out how to go as fast as I could and race against the best people that I could.
Melissa now has a new passion and a taste for competition. Coming up in part 2 of our interview, we find out what it took to get her to her first race grid and the struggles she faced to continue to compete. All that and more coming up on Cycle Sports TV.